Hello, guys. Welcome to the OSC News and Highlights Talk Show. I am your host, Chickenman. With me, of course, is Eddie, who is always here. And of course,
Hey guys, good to be back.
we have our guests today, Creighton, Olson, and Shyrshadi. I said that wrong. I practiced it, and I still said it wrong. So I apologize.
It's all right. I forgive you.
How are you guys all doing today?
Doing really well.
I'm really excited to be on the show for the first time. I know all of us are really excited to talk about, I think, the most important thing that's been going on the last couple of weeks. The biggest announcement in video games, which is, of course, Animal Crossing New Horizons, the big Nintendo Direct this week. And I'm
For
so
sure.
excited to spend an hour just telling everybody about it.
Yeah, you're all about that Animal Crossing, huh?
Oh,
Spoilers, we were going to announce the OSC circuit for that later in the program.
yes. Oh, I'm so in. Isabella is my jam.
Well,
Seriously,
there's
though,
some
thanks for
good
inviting
news.
us. It's so good to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We had a lot of good topics today, but like you said, our first one is probably the most important one in StarCraft in years and years. We've never had an announcement quite like this before, and I know it's really exciting for all of us as members of the community. So let's just talk about it. Let's get into it. The ESL Pro Tour. It's replacing WCS, and it's going to be continuing for at least 3 years. 3-year minimum.
Pretty
I
hot.
feel like we're not all excited enough about that. Like I feel like there should be like a round of applause and some screamers.
I honestly feel like it hasn't sunk in yet. Every year for the last 3, the WCS announcements came later and later and later, and everybody started flipping out right about the time they cut Heroes of the Storm. Like after they'd run qualifiers and everything for it, then they announced, "Hey, it's not actually happening." And so people in the StarCraft community started freaking out, saying, "Where is the announcement? What is going on? Why do we know nothing, including the information about GSL, which we already know is happening because Afrika manager had announced that it's going to be happening again." So everybody's trying to rationalize the delay, and all the people on the high up that know but can't say, like, "It's okay, guys, it's okay, it's coming, it's coming. I promise you're gonna like this."
Mhm.
And they finally announce it, and everybody gets really quiet for a second, and they think about it, and then you start hearing like this applause just in the back corner, and then it starts getting louder and louder and louder, and everybody finally stands up for the ovation. But then they sit back down, and it's just like an Apple presentation where everybody's oohing and aahing over the introduction to the thing, and they haven't really latched on to the rest of the product yet. I don't think anybody really realizes the extent of what this actually means for the scene.
What do you think people are missing mostly, Shirshadai?
I think it had to do with the initial release, the initial announcements only going through the halfway point in the year, through about, I want to say it was DreamHack Dallas is the last thing that had a date set in stone. Montreal wasn't announced, Leipzig wasn't
Right.
announced, anything else in the year had not been announced just yet. So there was still some naysayers, still some doubters, and while we don't have the official announcement for the Pro Tour, we do have the dates for Montreal and for Leipzig and a few other places. I'm just not entirely sure which is going to have StarCraft. I can't imagine in 1,000 years that they wouldn't have StarCraft at Montreal because Montreal is always such a big crowd. It's always such a passionate crowd. It's like not having something in Poland. It's just not going to happen. But it's just because it hasn't been announced yet. There were still some people that were freaking out. I think probably until we actually finish the first year and have the global finals at IEM, I don't actually think people are going to process the change.
Bold. Okay.
StarCraft people are really bad with change, okay? Have you ever seen anybody react to a new map pool? Have you ever seen anybody react to a balance change? Have you ever seen anybody react to a new build on StarCraft Reddit?
And they're all, everybody's friendly and super excited about things not being the same as they were. You're
Yeah, that's exactly
yeah.
what it is. One of my favorite memes was In Control talking about all the pro gamers are like little children and just like they tell you what they want. They just want everything to stay the same forever. And it's just like, no, that's not gonna happen. And I will throw my hat in this. I complain about maps too. It's just like this map pool is so bad, and the next one comes in. Oh, the last map was so good. It's like, yeah,
See, I don't
change
care at
is
all
just
about
feels
maps.
bad.
I love as long as there's variety, it makes me happy because I watch and cast a lot more StarCraft than I play. So I just
Yeah.
love seeing there be variety because that way, whenever there's a map that nobody likes, to me that's balanced. If none of the races prefer it, that's balance right there, baby.
I sort of feel opposite, and I know I'm taking all the airtime. I just wanted to say this. I kind of feel the opposite. For me personally, I want to have to play my opponent. I don't want to have to play the map and my opponent because the game gets harder. And it's similar for the pro gamers. They have all these styles practiced and all this gameplay they can relate to in a standard situation. But then when you've got the slow zones and now the acceleration zones, all your mental timings get jacked up. All of your carefully planned and well executed timings either hit 30 seconds late and there's 40 banelings instead of 10, or they hit 10 seconds early and oh, he has no units yet. Excellent. I just win now. Except it also works against you because the 12 pool now gets to your base yesterday. So there's just a lot of different aspects for weird maps. And I use those two references in particular because every single map so far that's had a slow zone in it is either vetoed until the end of a best of 7 or is picked as a special build situation. Winter's Gate, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, I think that wraps up our solid discussion of the big WCS announcement. I think that
Straight to
covers
Maple.
everything we need to talk about,
Oof.
and there's nothing more to say on this topic. Nailed it.
My bad. I'm a solo caster. I have to fill dead airtime.
Well,
We
Chickenman,
just-
what do you think, man? I mean, is the announcement everything we'd hoped for? Is it Christmas plus Thanksgiving plus like half of Halloween, or is there something that's missing that you want to see in the announcement that you're worried about, or something that has been announced that you're concerned about?
I gotta be honest. As far as I'm concerned, this announcement is 100% good news. I haven't had any like doubts about it, anything bad going on. I've just been really like I think about it sometimes. It just pops into my brain, and I'm like, ESL has control of StarCraft and will for 3 more years run tournaments. And I just like I smile. I get chills. It's exciting. I think about that Blizzard esports are now going to YouTube, and I think, but not StarCraft, and then I get excited because I really feel like the last few years I've been feeling a lot of that, like, oh, Blizzard doesn't care about us anymore, right? It really felt like they kind of stopped caring, and that wasn't a good feeling. Going to BlizzCon and getting to see those games live this past year was really, really cool. And at the same time, you know, they released that highlight video and there was no StarCraft in it. And I was like, oh, well, that's fun. I can't wait for the WCS announcement this year.
Yeah, that was a worrying time.
It was. Fortunately, I had actually had the inside information about ESL then. I found out about it at BlizzCon.
What?
I did. But
You
I
held
didn't
out on
know.
this? Come on,
Nobody
man.
knew
See,
it
like I
was
said, the
3
people that knew
years.
couldn't say anything.
This
Yeah.
is bullshit.
Nobody knew it was going to be 3 years until, like, when it was announced, basically. So I knew that ESL was taking over. I knew literally 0 details about it. But it was still, it was something that had been talked about, right? The idea of, oh, make a promise to the players, make a promise to the teams that we're going to continue for a few years and more people will invest. And here we are. And I mean, our next topic is going to be talking about Team Liquid picking up a couple of players, which hasn't happened in what, like 6 years?
I know I need a longer beard to say, what year is it? To do that meme of Robin Williams.
I actually can
Team
do
Liquid
this.
Picked up 2 players?
Yeah, no, it's incredible. Like, without a 3-year deal, there's no way that happens, right?
Of course
no, and there's no new teams coming in. We've had a number of new teams, Razor Edge Gaming and Big, the Berlin esports organization, have come in and joined StarCraft because, hey, there's something here. There's 3 more years. We have players committing that may not necessarily have done so.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
fantastic for the players as well, because a lot of players sort of operate on a 6-month or 12-monthly contract, and then in this past WCS system, you go in that limbo stage where you're waiting with your team trying to renegotiate. But now you've got 3 years, you know what's happening. You got your weeklies, you've got your majors all locked in for 3 years. Teams know what it's about, and it's great to see that investment into players, which you've mentioned.
Yeah, Eddie, I did want to ask you on this, on like putting these two topics together. I think you might have more insight than maybe the rest of us. Does this give players more negotiating power to be like, hey, if I'm going to be around for 3 years, I'm able to make more demands, or does it give the teams a little more power to be like, okay, well, if we be here for 3 years, we can drop you whenever we want, or is it sort of good for both parties?
I think good for both parties. Probably more of an advantage to the players. They're not. They don't have to like hang on to a team, stick with the one team. There is they've got time to move to another team with that circuit ongoing for 3 years, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just a win-win. Certainly, the players should be very happy with the security over long term.
Oh, that's great to hear.
And I'm really excited just as a commentator, and I'm sure you guys are as well, that every weekend we have these consistent events that we can plan for. You know, like I take the day off of work every week now to make sure that I can cast StarCraft on the weekends. And it's so exciting every time to get to do that.
There is a little bit of a downside if we want to be critical, is that some of the regions with the way they are seeding, like the Challenger, have taken a bit of a cut. Like I think Taiwan, SEA have now only having one player advance through. So if you are a team looking to pick up players in that region, it's a lot harder to get your one guy through a bracket each season. You may have to take into account that you may have to put additional funds into, considering sending that player overseas to these majors, which is a lot harder for I suppose, Europe or North American players where the majors tend to be held. So it can be harder for the smaller regions for those players to be picked up by a bigger team or even a local team. And now that effectively the challenges, I believe, don't give out points towards the EPT rankings either. It's just travel assistance, if I'm not mistaken, to one player. Which is a big argument. There's merit to it that maybe Europe has a bigger, deeper, talented player pool. So that's where a lot of the seeds were redirected towards Europe. But at the same time, do you want to support these smaller regions and give those guys the opportunity, which are perhaps further away, the more difficult to attend? There's merit to both sides.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I do remember taking a look at that and being a little bit sad that there were some points taken away from some of those further away regions, as you say. Excuse me. It was a little bit unfortunate to see that because, like you said, perhaps it comes down to recent results and strength of the region and things like that. But yeah, if you only have one spot, maybe some of those people aren't going to be working as hard. And so the collective strength isn't going to grow to try to get those spots because there's only one. And, we're going to see what Probe is going to get it a bunch, in the Southeast Asia, Australia spot. So
definitely. I think probably the counter argument we're going to hear, if we were to present this argument, the counter argument we're going to hear is that all the major tournaments now are no longer region locked, right? So all the qualifiers for Katowice, for example, were server locked instead. So we saw, like, for example, I remember casting Special in the North America qualifier number 1, the European qualifier number 1, Korea 1 and 2, North America 2, and Europe. Like he tried it all 6 times to qualify. Of course, it's a more competitive pool and everything, but I think you have a valid point there, Eddie, and it's actually not something I thought about before for these players in the underserved regions. Hopefully, we can find ways to support them through grassroots tournaments or something to make sure that the scene there is still thriving.
Absolutely, and there are those tournaments in place already. I was just going to say that those server qualifiers are more for Katowice, the open major, rather than the sort of Masters tours. If I'm not mistaken, they're still
Yeah,
region
that's
lock
correct.
challenges.
Based on the announcement for the ESL Pro Tour, there are a couple of global events, which was I already closed the tab. Feels bad, man. Which was Katowice and I don't have all the roadmap in front of me, but basically like ESL Pro Tour was going to include the mixed play, which was Katowice, obviously. There's supposed to be, I want to say it's GSL versus the world also that is for both players, both regions rather, Korea and the foreigners. And then you have the GSL events, and then you also have the DreamHack events that will be the region specific events. That all of that culminates for the end of year finals.
It is possible that they may include other events as well. That's just what they've committed to announce. Like, it would
That
be
is
great if
true.
something like Cheesadelphia, a really established circuit in North America, if something like that would feature somewhat in this point circuit.
What's that TBA in December of this year? Do we know yet?
In a recent announcement, I did hear something about a IEM China. Perhaps that could be the one. However, it might not be. Well, later in the year, things might improve, but the current situation, you wouldn't be eyeing off that location.
Once the summer hits, it's all going to go away. It's going to be sunshine and rainbows. I'm sure.
That is the hope. That is the hope.
Another thing with this 3-year deal is they actually included Warcraft 3 Reforged, which was recently released, remodeled, and came out with some criticism from the public.
Some criticism from the public.
You might say.
The correct way to put it. Yes.
I purchased it, and I had a bit of fun with the campaign. There were issues. Game crashed a few times, which is not what you want, but it was actually I just bought it for a bit of a nostalgia. I played this when I was in high school, and I'm very much a noob at it. I can't work out the battle engagements and all that. It's spellcasters and heroes,
So much.
and the units have so much more health compared to StarCraft 2. But it is good fun. I haven't actually tuned in. They had is it a DreamHack Major that was just going on?
DreamHack, it just went down in Anaheim.
Yeah, so
A
Did you say
big
just
bit
went down
of
in Anaheim? Was that intentional?
well, went
After it
down is
crashed.
actually it was
Oh,
actually
no.
playing into what I was about to say. Yes, Thorzane versus Moon was a series that
Oh,
happened
God.
that I was really enjoying, and Thorzane crashed twice, and then they ended up regaming again on Classic without trying to play Reforged because they just kept crashing. And from what I could tell, Thorzane was in a decent position, and then he wasn't for the rest of the regames. It's just, and while it's unfair to say that Thorzane lost because of the regames, he had gotten himself into position versus Moon where I feel like he should have been given the chance. And obviously, Reforged does not include the ability to recover a game like from the replay, which is apparently something I'm very spoiled by having because a lot of games actually don't have this feature. But as a result of that, Blizzard hasn't actually said anything that I can find.
there was a patch come out today. I saw come across my Twitter feed, so maybe
Okay.
that's been addressed.
I
But
hope so.
obviously, introducing a resume from replay would be quite a big mechanic to code in. Hopefully, something they could do. Not too sure how the game varies from StarCraft 2 in that respect.
Yeah.
Well, I
But
imagine
3
the
years for that as
code
well
is a lot
is a
older.
very big commitment for a game that was sort of not on the size of StarCraft 2 or one of the prominent esports. It's a big commitment by ESL there. Pretty cool. And one of my long-term StarCraft friends, I'll call him, Moonglade, was actually picked up by a C team.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty cool as well. And I definitely think some of the Europeans have been picked up by teams as well. So it's really great for that game. And hopefully it kicks off despite some technical issues. ESL committed to supporting it, and Blizzard will continue to work through any issues, I'm sure. But yeah,
Does
pretty cool.
Cheesadelphia do Warcraft 3?
I have no idea. Perhaps they might now as a side event. A lot of these, like LANs, they have like small little games going on. If it's like a bring your own PC sort of thing.
Yeah, for
Sure.
sure.
Even DreamHack Atlanta last year had a basically bring your own computer StarCraft tournament. The prize pool was only $70, but it existed. So I thought that was pretty cool. It wasn't officially sponsored or anything, but they had people there that played StarCraft, so they just put a cup together.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's just like keyboard, mouse, $50 sort of thing, you're there anyway. So
Exactly.
I mean, is Cheeseadelphia going to get canceled by coronavirus? That's the question in my mind. How bad is COVID-19? Is it in Philly yet? And is it going to destroy the populace?
I think they're
I'd be
immune to
worried.
it in Philadelphia. Something about the cheese that they
Too cold?
put on their
Philly cheesesteaks?
Philly cheesesteaks, it makes them immune to really any sort of sickness.
Yeah. I mean, most Eagles fans I know are like 90% preservatives anyway
Yeah.
from all the bratwurst and beer.
Yeah, it's
so
true.
I think they're going to be in good shape.
That's why they're Eagles fans.
I think also StarCraft 2 demands such a high APM requirement that it increases the body's temperature and resistance to viral infections. So
Smart.
the StarCraft players should be right, have an advantage there.
Good call. Good call.
So you heard it from us, 4 medical doctors. Don't worry about coronavirus. If you live in Philadelphia, you're going to be fine. Do whatever you want.
Yeah. You don't need to wear a mask.
So the fact of the matter is, it is one of the most contagious epidemics we've had, but it actually has a lower kill rate than the flu in both South Korea and the United States. So everybody is kind of freaking out about it, but I honestly feel like the issue is how easy it is to catch it as opposed to how lethal it is. Because with proper treatment, proper hydration, it'll run its course and you'll be okay in most situations. People with compromised immune systems, obviously, the same people that could possibly die from the flu would be the people you have to worry about getting sick. But because of how easy it is to get it, they're worried about it becoming a superbug. So most of what you end up having is, instead of events being canceled, you'll just have participants not participating, just not traveling to it, especially overseas. Like Time actually forfeited his spot in Katowice, I believe, because he didn't want a chance exposing anybody else, as he's already been exposed to it. We haven't heard anything for sure on whether or not he has been exposed, but I feel it's more of a play it safe situation.
Yeah, I think governments as well, particularly in relation to China, have got some sort of travel bans or quarantine requirements, which would make attending quite difficult. I know here in Australia, there's a 14-day quarantine requirement for people coming from China or affected regions. I'm actually in a medical profession myself. Some people might not know this, so it's quite on our radar. It's plastered all over the hospitals and our infection teams, keeping us updated. But we've had no outbreaks where I am. It's just a matter of precautions. The concern, as you say, is the rate of spread. It's quite high, and it's also can be asymptomatic. You don't have to be displaying symptoms for you to transmit it, which is quite concerning as well. But those in overseas, etc., might have difficulty traveling with precautions in place.
That's the new qualifier for Cheeseadelphia. The qualifying round is don't have coronavirus, and then you get seeded into the bracket after that.
That's smart. That's good thinking right there.
Love it.
That's almost like an entry fee too, because then you have to be tested to be proven that you don't have it.
Just run a 2-week LAN, you know.
Nice. I mean, so what else do we need to know about Cheeseadelphia? It's coming. We have the initial announcement. We don't know players or talent, or do we know venue even?
A good question.
I think they have
the
their
local
own
host arena. It's going to be from April 11th to 12th at the local host arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's a scaling price pool beginning at $4,000. It will increase by $500 every 10 signups. So the
Wow.
prize pool is entirely based on participation. It's limited to 64 slots, however, due to both playtime and presumably available funding. So because registration's open now, if you are interested in participating as a player, sign up now.
Yeah, go do
Yeah,
that.
I'm sure Joe, the organizer, he always appreciates the early signups.
Absolutely.
It's one of the best run tournaments. So it's been running for quite a while. This is number 12, as you say.
Yes.
Have any of you guys actually attended one of these, being NA based?
Not personally.
I haven't been NA based for about 5 years now, so I am excited. I might actually make it out for Philadelphia this year. I haven't confirmed anything, but if not as talent, maybe as a fan. So I do like a bit of a drive. So if I can find
That's
a cheap
excellent.
hotel, I may make it a priority this year.
Yeah.
I
I've
would
never been
not be
before.
opposed to that.
It's one of my favorite events to watch too. They have good production and usually, I think, tempo casting with Fear Dragon. It's a good NA combination.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is.
Yeah,
it is.
it's great. And then, I mean, I love getting to watch the players because, I mean, you get some surprises. You know what I mean? Every now and then, you get an M. Canning taking down a Neeb. And there's nothing
Mhm.
more hype than that.
That was a good series too.
Yeah, I'm excited that Philadelphia's on the calendar. I mean, if the episode has a theme here, it's just more good news, right? The whole
More
the
good
whole
news.
last
More
couple weeks.
StarCraft. You familiar with the Pylon show? I can't imagine he wouldn't be by now. The This Week in StarCraft segment, where they just blitz through a list, is 30 minutes long because there's just so much stuff happening.
At
I love
least
it.
30 minutes long.
Exactly.
It
I love
easily
it.
gets longer than that. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's so great to see just all these events going on so consistently. StarCraft
And there's
is as alive, more alive than it's ever been. Kind of
yeah,
crazy.
and there's I mean, speaking of events, we got a big one happening in our very midst, right?
I'm surprised you're not casting right now.
I'm about to go sleep and then do that some more.
Yeah, IEM Katowice. I mean, day one was already awesome. There's already been so much StarCraft. It was about half awesome, and the other half was incredibly entertaining, is what I'll say about the second bracket.
Yeah. I mean, there's a high bar, right? So sorry, Chickenman, introduce us to what's going on this week, man. Give us like the 30-second elevator pitch for IEM Katowice.
I mean, there's so much, right? So it's the round of 76. There's 4 different groups, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Spoiler alert for any
Or
of you
brackets.
guys who are not tuned into this fact.
Avert your eyes, shit.
Oh no. Yeah, they've played brackets 1 and 2. I assume today will be, or later will be bracket 3 and 4.
Correct.
And only 3 people from each bracket get through.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And the brackets are incredibly stacked. There's always like, oh, I'd love to see half of this bracket make it through. But only 3 people go. So it's very competitive, incredibly competitive. And there's already been a ton of upsets and a ton of people that aren't going to be in the next round. That's really sad.
What's the countdown until we can start talking about Has? That's what I'm here for.
I mean,
Well, I'd kind of like to go with the first bracket first.
All right, fine.
we got to set up the storyline. It's all about the storyline. All right.
If I can interrupt you just really quickly, Chickenman, just so people know what the format looks like. We've got the 4 brackets that are today and tomorrow. 3
Right.
players from each bracket are going to move on. But there is already, so those 12 players are going to move into the group stages, which start on Thursday and Friday. There are already 12 players seeded into those group stages, and they're separated into 4 different groups, A through D. And you guys are on top of this. Perfect. Pulling it up now. So you can see those players qualified in the January qualifiers that, like, I think all of us covered, right?
Basically.
Yeah.
Aside from Dark and, is it Maru or Dark and Cyril?
Dark and Cyril were invites.
Right. Dark and Cyril were the 2 invites. And then through the 6 qualifiers in January, 10 more players played through those, again, incredibly grueling competitive brackets to get seeded into the second group stage of the tournament. So the tournament's going, or the bracket's going on today and tomorrow. See who is going to join these players in these groups. So we already know 6 of the players that have gone through, but we don't know which groups they're going to be in yet because there's a lottery system or something they're doing to decide the groups. I think it's random.
Probably random. I mean, and I think it doesn't matter what group you're in. None of these groups are going to be easy. I mean,
No, by no means.
no. There's no easy victories here.
it's really cool. They were talking to some of the players in the after interviews today, what few that I could catch. And a lot of the players were like, all the groups are hard, but I don't want to play a TVT. So I'm hoping to avoid group D. Everything else will be fine. Or like, I don't want to play a PvP. So put me in B through D or whatever. So really, I mean, when the competition is this good and the players are just like, if there's a matchup I could miss out on, that'd be great. It's just stacked.
There's not like a
Let's
group
be
of
real,
death
nobody
here.
wants to play Cyril. Everybody else is like,
It's true.
that's a big hill. Cyril's like the vertical pole 2 inches in diameter and covered in ice that you have to scale at the top of the mountain. And
I think-
hopefully don't bend it sideways and fall down the mountain.
I think that's what Finnish people do in gym class in high school, is trying to climb up a frozen pole on top of a mountain.
Well, that explains how Cyril got there.
All right, so there you go. We have the whole setup. So shall we talk about some of the results?
Oh, let's do it.
Absolutely.
Close your ears if you haven't watched brackets 1 and 2 yet. All right, I hope they're closed. I hope your eyes are closed too, because I just scrolled down the screen. So we'll talk about, I guess, some of the favorites here, and how some of them didn't quite make it all the way.
Who could you possibly be talking about, Chickenman?
Well, all right, I saw the first name on the bracket and decided to talk about him first. The biggest of Gabes had what I would call the biggest of disruptor hits. And
That's a low blow.
yeah, he wasn't on the right side of that disruptor hit.
It's hard for a Terran to be on the right side of a disruptor hit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
usually you
true.
want to be all the way around it with nothing in the middle.
Yes. Generally speaking, he did it the backwards way though, where everything was in the middle.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
I mean, to give some context, so if you follow Hero Marine through the bracket, you can see he got punched out by Patience, who was just on a roll, didn't drop a map. Dropped one map to Hero Marine, but didn't drop a map before then. Knocked down to the lower bracket because it's a double elimination tournament. And then faced up against Showtime in the lower bracket, a German face-off. And if you have not seen that series, if you didn't catch it today, I haven't seen that series yet. I've seen little bits and pieces of it, but holy crap. What people are calling the best 3-game series of 2020 so far.
Yeah.
It honestly is, in my
yeah.
opinion, the game of the tournament so far, and maybe the best game of StarCraft, best series of StarCraft I've seen all year.
Other than maybe
watch
the
the whole
last time
thing?
they played in that first ESL Open, which if you
I'm
didn't
not gonna
watch,
lie, that was
that best of
really
five.
good, but I honestly feel like this one was better. I feel like this series was better. It felt like this series was closer.
There was more on the line too, which I think
That is also true.
makes it just so much more exciting, and it's just a best of 3, right? It's
Mm.
not
I
a
actually
best of
thought it
Yeah.
was a best of 5 myself watching it. So
It felt the first game felt like a best of
The
3.
first game felt like it was 2 games at least put
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. And I mean, just like as a fan and as a viewer, not as, because technical issues aside, like as a player, the games were great and like mechanically they did really well. But from a storyline and from like our feelings, Big Gabe travels to Poland, has a sick run through the top of the bracket, barely gets knocked down by the guy who later qualifies, and there's no shame in that. And then he's out, man. This is day one of Katowice. And granted, he made some money. He didn't end up, because the prize distribution is great for this tournament. So he still made some money, but it feels, as a player, I mean, you guys can attest, as a player, when you go out on day one of a week-long tournament, you just feel gross. And I feel so bad for the guy. He said he was proud of his games and he played pretty well, but it still stings like hell.
Well, and that's
And
the
it
tough
really
thing,
does.
because there's so many players in this bracket who you can kind of say the same thing about, right? You look at Mana, who's been one of the top foreigners in history. You've got Denver, who was looking fantastic, but kind of just got bopped out for the most part. Zaun and Super traveled from Korea. Zaun's looking really good, actually. He took out Creator, he took out Super, he took out Mana, and he went 1-2 with Hero Marine.
Mhm.
But it wasn't enough. They just traveled all the way from Korea for day one to get knocked out. Super didn't take a map.
Can we talk about Zaun for a minute? And not just because he's my teammate and I'm repping for him here, but that dude is on a freaking roll for the last like 3 weeks. He has been tearing it up
He really
in
has
every
been.
tournament he's entering.
he's found a way to play the game that fits him. Is like people are talking about the Zound style, which are basically playing gateway style with no upgrades versus Terran, which honestly sounds like a bad idea. And it kind of looked like it in some games versus Hero Marine, but it works for him. He's killing Korean Terrans
Yeah.
with this build, with this play style, because they're just like, he has so much stuff. And in a game of StarCraft, you can generally win if you have more stuff than the opponent. Even if it's slightly better upgrades, you just have enough stuff that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, condolences to Zound for losing. I have no doubt we'll see him in the GSL round of 32 or round
Certainly.
of 64 or
for
whatever
sure.
the GSL is doing this year.
We're not sure, but we'll see him there. Yeah, I'd be shocked
So, I
if
mean,
he
the
doesn't
qualifying
qualify
players.
for GSL.
Oh, come
this
on,
year.
sorry.
Oh, I was just saying I'd be shocked if he doesn't qualify for GSL this year. But,
Yeah. So, I mean, if we look at the qualified players here, Patience, obviously a big favorite coming in, had a pretty decent run through the tournament. Sound, Estrella, Hero Marine, no shame in any of those wins. Great players. And then, of course, SOS as well. 2-0 Creator, beating out Showtime. And then in the bottom of the bracket, the German Showdown with Showtime taking it out. So 3 Protoss players. So balance whining, 11. But I mean, statistically, the bracket 1 was just a little weird today. I don't want to belabor the point too much, but look at all the green on that bracket. In the bottom half of the bracket, there was 1 non-Protoss player. So just like statistically, it was most likely that of these 11 players in the round of 16, 3 of them would go on. But like, it's just decent math. Like, it's not an anomalous result or anything. And if you've seen the games, if you've seen the players, Patience SOS or $O$, as we're obligated to call him for this big money tournament, and Showtime earned their way, and I think it was a really solid bracket number 1, and the results probably about what was expected. But some fabulous games as you get into some of the finicky lower bracket games and stuff. Really good stuff.
Absolutely. I didn't actually get to see the Patience versus Hero Marine series. I still have to go back to watch that. But what Hero Marine was saying is that his play style is so different from anything he's played on the ladder that he just couldn't really get a handle on it. He took a game off of him, but he just couldn't really wrap his head around the play style. Showtime is much more what he's experienced versus what he's used to. But at the same time, Showtime is well aware of how good Hero Marine is with disruptors. He didn't even get Storm. He just stayed on disruptors because he knew that Storm was not going to be useful against someone that had the control of Hero Marine. You have SOS moving over Showtime. SOS is always an enigma. He streams random, so you don't ever know how informed he is, and he just shows up and kicks Showtime in the teeth and advances on drinking a bottle of water like he always does. And so then you're left with the terrifying matchup that is the lower bracket of all things between these two mountains. And obviously, one could argue that Hero Marine is a bigger mountain because he is Big Gabe, but I guess Showtime just dug a tunnel through it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, quick shout out, by the way, to all of the Polish players who, by the worst stroke of luck, ended up in the same side of the same competitive bracket for the event in Poland.
Yep.
But I mean, look at that bottom half of the top bracket there. Mana, Gerald, Christianer, and Ziggy, all 4. Soul made it in the top side of the bracket, but again, all of them ended up fighting out. There were like 1, 2, 3 Polish. I don't know what the word for a team kill of 2 people from the same country, but they all had to fight each other. So rough luck for our Polish fans.
Nation kill.
Bracket 1.
Yeah, it is too bad. It is too bad not to see any Polish players going through, it seems. Are there any other Polish players in the bracket? Or
I think there are
in it
a
at
few
all?
later on, but most of the big names were here in.
Yeah.
Here number 1. We did lose a few Polish players that had to cancel. Several. There were, I think, 10 total players had either qualified or been invited and weren't able to make it to the tournament, were replaced.
Oh, wow.
And I think a few of those were Polish players.
There's a Polish player by the name of Blue in bracket number 4.
Well, there you go.
That's a whole nother story, though.
Yeah. Well, anything else on bracket 1? I think we've wrapped it up more or less.
I watched a lot of this series. It was a good time here in Australia. It starts at 9 p.m, so I was able to watch a lot of the bracket. And
Nice.
Patience probably played a lot of that Zound style, like aggressive on the map with gateways, from what I observed. And he's someone you can never underestimate. It's hard to know if he'll bring his A game or not. Got the best of Hero Marine there.
It's
was
hard to even
quite
know
impressed
what it's hard to even know what Patience's A game is. Like what does his A game look like? It's just he comes in sometimes. I feel like he's just a very decisive player, and he'll make a choice and go for it, whether it's a bad
Is he
blank
the
or a
Korean
good
Haas?
blank.
No, he's the Korean Huck, actually.
The Korean
The way he
Huck.
handles his stalkers,
Wait, so
just
he's
blinking
retired
forward
and
into terrible places.
Top 3
It's
KR
just like
control.
something like that. I just continue to be reminded of this in control quote every time I watch Patience play. King Sejong Station, if that helps you.
Yeah.
Memory.
Yeah, I know the clip.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that I can't not think that about Patience because of that clip. And it may not be a fair statement, but watching him kill Mario in the last season of GSL, I kind of have to agree.
Yeah.
Like just shading Glaive's adepts endlessly until Mario dies. That more or less.
Of course. I mean, he'll be an interesting addition to our collection
He certainly will.
in Jurassic
He
Park. at the
he
end of the year.
favored Charge Zealots in that series. I think he had like 40 or 50 against here and there.
Classic.
Yeah, that
Classic
was
Patience.
Seems
insane.
legit.
Charge Love.
Seems legit.
Oh man.
How's bracket 2 looking?
All right, bracket
Bracket
2.
two. Bracket 2 was a little bit along the lines of what we expected. The racial distribution was a lot better at the end of the day. I mean, it took a little bit of time to settle who all was being replaced because there were 4 replaced players in the bracket. And so at the end of the day, you ended up with 7 Protoss, 6 Zerg, and 3 Terran players. And so we had our first ZVZs of the day started in the upper bracket there. We had Armani edging out Impact. Innovation did beat Bly, but in the lower bracket, we had our first major upset. Is Neeb not only fell 0-2 to Bly in the upper bracket, but he fell 0-2 to Skillus. So Neeb
Yeah.
is eliminated, only beating 1 player in the bracket.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bad day.
falling 0-2 to Bly, there's no shame. No shame in losing to Bly. But falling 0-2 to Skillus is a real surprise, and I mean that's a great result for Skillus.
It's a
I-
very
really
polite
is.
way that you pulled out of that one, Chickenman. You were like, "There's no shame to lose Bly, but losing to Skillus."
I
It's
realized-
bad, man.
It's a surprise.
I didn't mean that to sound quite that way.
I know.
Bly is insane. He's an insane person.
No, I mean he lost 0-2 to Innovation and then 0-2 to Has, and if you're going to lose to 2 players that then again go on to qualify, he was. I mean, Bly on fire is the joke, but he was absolutely on fire today.
So
Yeah,
playing-
definitely.
you know
playing
who
great
else
games.
was on
Anyway.
fire? Let's talk about it, Creighton. You want to talk about it. Everybody wants to hear it. Let's talk about Haas.
Can we wait? Can we go down the bracket?
Okay,
I
all
feel
right. We want to talk
we
about
got
the
the
other
excitement.
players first.
We gotta say that's our capstone story of the tournament. We gotta save it.
I
Sure.
kind
Hey,
of
we
feel like
were
we
waiting.
actually might be there. We already did mention that the other 2 qualified players are, and the other
Armani
upset.
Armani
This
played
was the
3
other upset.
ZVZs and he won. Innovation didn't drop a map and he won. All right. Do we have surprises here? Come on, let's move on.
Yeah, this is just like there were a lot more. The first bracket of the day was a lot more back and forth. It was a lot less one-sided, but we had a lot of 2-0s in this bracket. Just a lot of
Yeah.
bops, it looks like.
Yeah.
And honestly, Armani versus Impact, the way that he won kind of
Oh
looked
my
like a bop.
god.
It was hilarious.
Speaking of
Spine
Bly,
rush?
that was a Bly build.
Yeah,
Right there.
that was just basically Bly, the Korean Bly. And another upset. I feel like it's a bigger upset that Neeb was eliminated, but Haas being the next one to qualify, and not just qualify, but qualify over Impact and make it look kind of easy. Haas
Yeah.
qualifies by beating Impact 2-0.
The revenge match, by the way, 2-0, beating him,
Yes.
because after Impact sent him down to the lower bracket.
Damn.
Impact did 2-0 Haas to knock him down into the lower bracket, so he got his revenge. And it wasn't the same kind of play that people associate Haas with. It was actually really clean. Imagine a world in which Haas is the guy defending cheese, because that was today.
It was a little insane.
Yeah,
You don't chase the cheese master. That's some tip.
That
for
is
you there.
true.
That's
On
wild.
Zen, even.
I got to cast Haas versus Impact. I I think. I casted so many games today. Casted Haas versus somebody. And every game I was like, all right, let's see these crazy cannon rushes, the 8 gates off of one base, let's see the double proxy. I was joking in my cast. Let's see the double proxy Twilight Council. It's a new thing. Haas is gonna make it work somehow. And every game was like the openings would be a little unorthodox, like the timings weren't, quite as mechanical as what you might think. And he'd still somehow cobble together wins. They weren't pretty all day long. I don't think I saw a single Haas win that was just like decisive and clean and like, man, Haas just nailed that game. But he somehow made it through the bracket. And isn't that, at the end of the day, isn't that the most Haas thing you can do, is subvert the expectations of everyone and somehow still make it through the bracket? And he's just like memeing on himself now. He's like, oh, you want me to cheese? Nah, I'm not feeling it today. Still gonna make it through.
You know what I want
So
to
he'll be
see?
one to keep an eye out for. It'll be fun games. I'd be honest, I don't expect Haas to make it very far with the talent lineup of the already seeded players. I think those guys have played him enough in tournaments, and their skill level certainly on the next level from guys. No disrespect to the Europeans who made it, because they're incredible players, but you can't really compare a guy like Cass to Innovation or to whoever else is in the end of the bracket. So exciting to see Haas go through. I expect we'll see him finish at or near the bottom of his group. I don't think it matters what group he's in.
I actually feel like that might be a little unfair. I think that
Oh,
having watched his play today in the few games that I actually saw broadcast, he is playing a broader range of style than I have ever seen him play, which means the scariest thing, you've heard it said, the scariest thing a cheeser can do is to macro. He's capable. He's actually not only capable, but he's actually proficient. And so it obviously depends on the draw, but I could see him, while he probably won't advance, I don't think he's going to be last.
there's a shoe store near me. If you're willing to make a bold prediction,
Nah.
I'm willing to make a
Sorry,
small
I don't
purchase
feel the
tomorrow.
need to change my ID to one regret.
Ouch. Well, let's preview. I mean, what is how about bracket? Anything else to say about bracket? Eddie, did you watch these games? Did you see any good ones today, or were you asleep by this point?
This started a bit late, 2 a.m., so I only saw some of the earlier stage of it. Beating Vanya. I think Vanya was a really informed player as well. I think he
Yeah.
could have had a good run, but Haas knocked him down. Really impressive by Bly. We'll touch on it later in the show, but his results, particularly in King of the Hill, he's just taken down everyone in best of ones. He's not somebody you want to play.
No.
Yeah.
And you guys were just mentioning the group stage. That's best of 3, if I'm not mistaken, as well, which is probably better for someone like Haas rather than a best of 5 against Cyril. I think it would help him more.
Mm-hmm.
So, well,
So what I'm hearing
I think
from you,
everyone will be cheering for him.
Haas is going to 2-0 Cyril in Group D.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I'm hearing you say, Eddie.
Well, I could go and get a shoe, but I'm not going to.
You heard it here first, guys.
I want to see Haas versus SOS. That's what I want to see, because I think those guys think similarly, which is scary. I don't really want to go into their brains, but
I don't actually think I can classify how either one of them think, because and it's not because they're crazy. That's not where I'm going with this. It's because their level of the understanding is completely different, and completely different from the way we see it. It's completely different from the way most pros look at it. Most pros look at these things that you can do and these things that you can't. And SOS thinks to himself, what can I change about what you can do to make it look like what you can't? And what can I change about the things you can't do to make it look like the things that you can't do, but still make it work?
I like half of you less than half as well as you deserve. But you make a good point. You do make a good point. So just the way you phrased it, I couldn't help myself.
I was just like, what are you? I'm not sure where to go with this.
I still don't understand what that phrase means, so that's on me.
Which honestly, in order to understand that phrase, you probably would probably have to get inside their heads, and you don't ever come back from that.
Yeah.
And the other is probably move to Thailand, go live in Haas's house.
If you play
And
PvP for 100
Taiwan, rather.
straight hours without sleeping, you will be in the brain of Haas or SOS, but only
I was
then.
actually thinking maybe being discipled by one of them. I don't know.
I'm not sure if I could handle it.
We're getting way into the weeds here. Chickenman, what do you
Let's
see
move
on here
into
on
bracket
bracket
number
3 that
three.
you are just jazzed about?
So the first thing that comes to mind with bracket number 3 is actually the bottom of the bracket, Polt versus Special. Polt obviously came back recently. He was Captain America for many years. Special, a fan favorite. I mean, one of the favorite foreign players for literally 10 years at this point.
Right.
And I mean, I think Special is very favored in that matchup at the moment. But this is Polt's really first chance to prove himself coming back into StarCraft. And unfortunately, he gets up against one of the people I fully expect to qualify.
Wow, okay.
I am
MAT
actually with you there. I
But
actually can see Special qualifying very easily.
This bracket, I think, has probably, I don't want to say the best foreign players, because obviously we saw Hero Marine and Showtime, but some of my favorites that I'm really hoping can do well in this one here. Petit Drogo, been really impressed with his play in general lately, especially Nation Wars. He was looking really, really strong, which was at the end of last year.
To see him get picked up by a team too. It seemed he'd been teamless for a long time for such a high-level player. It's a bit unusual, so it's great he's got some support now.
I fully believe that the ESL tour announcement had a lot to do with that.
It absolutely has. I mean, I remember commentating last year, and every now and then you'd get a really strong player, and I'd have to be like, oh, they don't have a team. That's why they're not in a clan right now. And I hated that. I was like, this is awful. These guys definitely deserve a team. And then this year, I took a look at a Ligulac, and just looking based on ranking, the top 40 players, every single one is on a team. And that's a recent thing. And I think that's incredible. I love it.
Yeah.
Dope. So, your calls, Chickenman. Let's do this. Special. Who else looks dangerous?
Clem. I think Clem is looking very strong. Yeah. And I'm gonna say Sue.
TL new recruit.
Yeah, the new TL recruit. I mean, he's been killing it. The Big Gabe Invitational, he won that.
How old is Clem? He's like 12.
He's like 12.
Right?
He's 17. He's actually 17, but he's 12.
Actually
yes.
17, but yes, he's 12.
Okay, and Sue in the top. I mean, the top bracket looks really scary, right? Petit Drogo.
There's so many great players.
Bunny Zanster, even. I mean, geez, and DNS as well.
Yeah.
But Sue, I think, probably the favorite.
I would say Sue is the favorite, with a lot of people that could easily compete. I mean, again, these are all best of threes. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see Drogo, Bunny, or DNS just bop Sue out of there. You know, that's.
I mean, totally nice, man. He puts up big numbers in some of those foreign tournaments. Chinese team, like he does really well.
You are not.
That is
incorrect.
True. I feel like Drogo's PvP is just too good, though. I don't honestly see Nice doing well versus Drogo specifically. I honestly think that the top semifinal for the qualifying match is going to be Sue Drogo.
I can see it.
Lower qualifying is probably going to be Clem versus Special.
Yeah, I might call it that way too. That being said, Special has to hit. If Special plays against Hearthstone, and also Clem versus Hurricane are potential like really intense matches that I could see going either way.
Clem Hurricane
not
would
to say
be really
that
fun
Namshar couldn't get out over Hearthstone, because that's definitely possible. But I feel like Special might be a little bit better versus Zerg right now than versus Protoss, but I'm not sure. I haven't watched Special a lot recently. He hasn't been playing as much. A lot of these guys, because they're getting ready for this tournament.
Yeah, a lot of Terrans just stop playing online cups.
Yeah.
Before their big event.
Hearthstone has been playing the weekly cups and doing quite well. We could even see a Clem Hearthstone playoff year with the way the bracket goes.
That is actually very true. I've not seen Hearthstone's PVT lately, but if he's going to have a place for it to shine, it would have to be versus Special, because he and Clem actually are practice partners. So that series is already going to be interesting.
Oh, nice. I will admit to some ignorance here. The only of these 16 players, there's one that I don't recognize. Do you guys know who Space Marine is? Like, I just checked his Wikipedia, but he's the only name I don't recognize in the entire bracket.
He's on ePunks. He's a fairly frequent online player.
Okay.
Doesn't take out many titles, but he sort of makes you a round of 8, and takes down a top player every now and again. He's a good player.
Okay, cool.
Give him a chance against Hurricane. Hurricane's not a
he
top
plays very
brand.
off meta styles. He plays very off meta styles. He is someone who was playing 2 Stargate Phoenix in PvP before it was cool. He seems to be ahead of the meta to an extent, but is not as strong mechanically as a lot of his opponents. So
Okay.
they're more likely to run over him mechanically. But he definitely has in this matchup a really solid shot to make something happen because it is a mirror, because PvP is as coin flippy as it is, or at least as it feels, both in
Sure.
casting and in playing. If he was going to make something happen, it would be in a mirror. But Hurricane is also known as a PvP sniper, so it's really hard to call. I would definitely say Hurricane is still the favorite in that matchup, but I wouldn't be completely surprised if Space Marine did something there.
Look, I'm never going to cheer against a European playing a Korean in a cup that's in Europe, lest I never be invited back.
It's a good call. That's very smart.
That's a very safe call. Yes.
If we can take one moment just to lament Cyan, Dongregu, and Tasia, all could have been in this bracket, and all of them sadly not able to attend. So,
Man.
God, how much fun would DRG, Tasia, and Cyan have been as well? But we won't see them this time. Hopefully, at the next event.
Can
We'll
I
see
just
those
say,
guys back.
I love getting to see some of these guys that used to be top of the world come back to StarCraft. Getting to cast Bomber Hero a couple weeks ago in one of the ESL Cups,
Yeah.
I was like, what is this game?
What
It's like
year is it?
2012 right here. It's really incredible. I love it.
And
speaks
DRG, they're
to-
saying there's a 6.8 barcode on Korea that's DRG right now. While this hasn't been confirmed by DRG or those close to him, if he is 6.8 right now, I am looking forward to GSL.
Man.
Talent doesn't fade.
Yeah, class is permanent, form is temporary. That is correct.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, I think. What? Anything else on Group 3 here?
No, just touching back that with the prize pool split, all these guys just have to win one map, and they'll take home at least $600, which is pretty good. Best of 3.
That is a big deal.
Mad props to ESL for
Even,
fixing that, right? Because during the announcement, it was really top heavy, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, they had to put out a thing that was like, "Hey, we readjust the prize pools, and now it's going to be more useful or more
Yeah,
lucrative."
I think
for
they got
people
some
further down
feedback.
bracket.
Some feedback from players that they would rather have it more spread out.
Easily.
Yeah, which I
Sure.
think we all appreciate, and it helps the scene,
yeah.
right? Like some of these guys, they'll get to go home with some money, even if they're out day one, right?
Mhm.
And
Speaking of taking some money home, recently, just this couple of days ago, was the Epic LAN in the UK, and we saw
Oh, yeah,
Risky and Razorblader first and second. That possible they might rematch here, both in pretty good form.
The Brits would be so
Razorblader
disappointed.
Razorblader is quite good. Like, he's another player who I feel like mechanically he may struggle a little bit, but I've seen him play some really good StarCraft. I've seen him play some really good TVZ, but it's Sue we're talking about. And who else can make 400 roaches at the 6-minute mark and storm you down?
If nothing else, again, speaks to how solid this first tournament, the first real tournament of the year is, right? With
It really is. It's
just
so
top talent
stacked.
from everywhere.
yeah,
Bad news for our British friends who have their top two players somehow landing not only in the same bracket, but right next to each other.
yeah, That
It's
is-
insane.
unfortunate. But I could see Risky taking out DNS. Like that
Yeah,
wouldn't be
I
an
actually would
incredible
favor.
upset.
Crazy enough, I favor Risky over DNS.
DNS is pretty underrated in my opinion. He's very, very good Protoss.
He definitely is underrated, but Risky has been training in Korea. He has been putting in that really hard work. He has been practicing a lot. So, and while I can't speak to DNS's practice regimen, I know Risky is working hard right now. So
Yeah.
Just based on the little bit that I know about these players, I would favor Risky. And like I said, I honestly don't know what DNS looks like as far as his builds go, as far as his preparation goes, what his practice partner list looks like. But I don't
I
know.
think
We will definitely find
Risky's
out.
trying to cash on every continent he goes to. He's traveling all around the world at the moment.
That's
Cool.
true.
Well, bracket 3 promising to be very interesting. And we got one left here.
agree.
Just look in. Bracket 3 and 4 both played tomorrow. And let's see what that looks like here. What stands out to you, Eddie? You might miss this one, right? Because it's a little bit later for you. Is there anything that
Yeah,
stands
well,
out that you're like, oh, this matchup, I really want to see it?
I want to see Kalazor Vindicta. TVT, traditionally
Yeah.
one of Kalazor's best matchups. Vindicta in really good form, up and coming NA player. Could give him a good run there. Rail on the comeback was recently paired up with Wardy to personal sponsorship there. He was always someone you wouldn't want to face in a bracket. He's a very talented player. He's up against Thermal, fan favorite. Someone who can always have a deep run, but someone who can sometimes drop series as well. Cuddle Bear Blue, that's a pretty even matchup as well. They're regular online competitors. I'd look forward to seeing one of them. Whoever wins that, take a bit of cash and move on in the bracket.
Only to
Blue
be
is that
dunked
last
on by
Polish
Lambo,
player we
right?
mentioned.
Pardon?
You guys both
I was
talked at
saying
the
the
same
winner.
time.
Chickenman, go.
We didn't hear what either of you said because you said things at the same time.
Sorry. Go ahead, Eddie.
I was just talking about Blue and Cuddle Bear. Cuddle Bear had a really good OSC championship result, if I recall. Might have been Seoul he took down in the groups to advance to the championship bracket. So that was a nice scalp for him there.
He's done a couple of show matches as well. I don't think he's won them, but like he's putting up really good fights.
What I was saying is Blue is the other Polish player, the last Polish player in the cup, in the tournament. And Cuddle Bear has a funny story coming into this. Originally, Cuddle Bear was scheduled to play versus Scarlet. Then she forfeited her slot and was replaced by Dream. So Cuddle Bear was going to have to play a TVT versus Dream. And then Dream forfeited his spot and was replaced by Blue. So Cuddle Bear has had to prep for 3 matchups at this point. So he's prepped for Scarlet, which is really going to help him if he does take down Blue. And then he had to prep TVT, and then he's had 3 days to prep TVP. So if he does manage to take down Blue, I think I actually like his chances for beating Lambo or Hate Me.
It's only one result too, but on the weekend, Lambo dropped the series to Aquarion, TVZ.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Cuddle Bear and Vindicta also our last 2 American hopes, with Neve and Estrella out. I'll be cheering.
I will be too. And fun fact, completely unrelated, but I found out very recently that Alpha X pro players, their A team they're called the Dragons.
How did you not know
Alpha
that?
X Dragons. I don't have any idea. No one has ever told me this, and I literally discovered this looking in their Discord a few days ago. It's like no one talks about it, but somehow everybody already knows, and I'm the last to find out. I don't know.
How dare you?
All right, Creighton,
I
that's
know.
on us. We got to talk about it more.
Come on. They haven't sent me any gear.
Cuddle Bear is literally my favorite Terran player, okay? And I didn't know this.
Wow. Yeah, I mean that'll be a really good match there. I'm excited to see. My guess would be a Cuddle Bear Lambo quarterfinals, and that would be fantastic, man. That'll be a series for the ages.
There you go.
It would be. I think that would actually be really good. I'd love to see these two face off.
I agree. I think this
Shyrshadi,
bracket.
let's put it to you this time.
Okay.
If you had to pick 3, who are you going for?
If I had to pick 3 people moving out of this bracket, Trap, I feel, is an easy guess. I feel like it's easy.
You. Gemini will not be texting me anymore as long as you started with that one. We're safe.
Okay, second, probably Deer. And then lower bracket, probably Euthermal.
I like it.
It's hard to tell though because Ragnarok is here, but I think Euthermal's TVZ is actually good enough to beat Ragnarok, which is
Wow.
a dangerous thing to say because I've also been told that Ragnarok has the best late game into Korea.
He's
So we'll see.
terrifying. Once the game hits 15 minutes, Ragnarok is terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he has to get there, and Euthermal is really good at not letting Zergs get there.
That's a good point. I think Ragnarok versus Euthermal, if that's the way it goes, will be a fantastic match as well.
Mm-hmm.
We should point out Ragnarok's opponent, Holy, hit the most recent addition, just announced as a change to the tournament, I think yesterday or Saturday. I saw on his Twitter, he was like, in Katowice. And I was like, oh, what's going on here? You're not playing in the tournament. Sure enough, an hour later, he was announced as the replacement for Ranger.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, he replaced. Ranger is a Malaysian Protoss, for anybody unfamiliar with him. I actually had to look him up when I found out because I actually didn't know who he was. Like, I've heard the name, but I didn't actually remember.
Cool. Should be great matches, man. Group 3 and 4, both. I think groups 1 and 2 had a lot of Koreans in them. At least it felt like they did. And groups 3 and 4 seem to be a lot more Eurocentric, which is really exciting because we don't get to see, I think, as many highly publicized European matches. I mean, they tear up the online cups and everything, but we're talking, I mean, today's stream, I think the A stream ended at like 16,000 viewers or something today.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of exposure that these European pros should just bask in. So 3 and 4 coming up here, starting in what, 5 hours? Going to be real exciting stuff.
Absolutely.
I think we have the most underrated Koreans in this bracket with Trap, Ragnarok, and Deer.
Don't say Trap's underrated. I'm going to get, my phone is going to blow up. It's going to be your fault.
The only reason Trap is rated correctly is because Gemini pushes the scales so high that the fact that absolutely nobody else respects him is weighted by Gemini's true devotion.
GSL finalists. I mean, come on.
Twice in a row. He was finalist twice in a row, and then he got top 8 at BlizzCon. And it's like, he's pretty damn good. I mean, the only other player that did, you could say, better than him last year, maybe Stats or Classic. So easily top 3 Protoss in Korea, right?
I would say Classic, because he saved BlizzCon with Blink DTs. So
that was the most amazing thing in the world.
Of all the people that can pull something off, there's a very short list.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that Classic was at the top of it until that day.
But I'm really excited for these 2 brackets for sure.
Yeah.
Certainly.
All right, let's move
So
on
we get some more news to cover, though, I think, right?
Yeah,
we do.
We're
still in our first main topic.
We've got a lot more to go. So we got some OSC news.
We better hustle. I gotta be awake in 4 hours to start casting again.
God.
Let's get a Red Bull. You'll be fine.
All right. So staff changes.
Yeah, we've had a couple of staff changes at the end of last year, start of this year for OSC. Okay. One of the managers, Kuro, departs. She helped us a lot in setting up our databases and designing that so the guys can input the data. She's moved on. And Bloody Rafe, who was the Hearthstone director, she's one of the best admins going around, but she's had to step down as well due to some health issues. And she's been replaced by Toxavia, who was one of the Hearthstone admins helping her out. He stepped up as a Hearthstone director in her place and is already doing a fantastic job. The Hearthstone rankings are up to date. He's been doing great things with the Hearthstone Reward Club members, and he's also doing a bit of work for StarCraft with ranking updates as well as adminning a few cups. So really great to have him on board, and already this year the team's working quite well.
Good.
Yeah, there you go. Sad to see people go.
Especially
if it's health reasons. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. I love Bloody Rafe, but Xavier coming in as the replacement. Anything else to say about that? Shall we move on to the OSC Season 7 Championship?
Yeah, which
Which
is
ran in
our
January.
big championship at the start of this year, based off the top players from last year's 600 tournaments. So we ran that the first 3 weeks of January. Wardy was the main caster. We had Colt Terran and yourself, Chickenman, cover some on OSC. Belair did a ton of it in German. We had some Russian casters, etc. It was a huge undertaking. 3 stages. We had groups, we had like a playoff bracket, and then we had the championship bracket. We had to organize all this sort of around Katowice qualifiers. There was WESG going on as well in January, so it was quite a scheduling task, as well as we had a few players like traveling. Vindicta went over to Ozcraft, a great Australian event that popped up. So it was quite an undertaking, and we made sure every single series was broadcast across the tournament. Every player got paid. We have a deep prize pool payout as well, which is something I believe in. And we crowned a new champion, which was Cure, who was probably the form player heading in, having won quite a few online events like Masters Cups and some of the Wardy Cups, Kung Fu Cups. He looked very dominant throughout. One of the remarkable results was Denver. He had a record-breaking lower bracket run all the
Whoa.
way through to the grand final, which has not been done before. Previously, that record was held by Kalazor, who had done it from lower bracket round 1 up to, I think, the semi-final or something like that. But yeah, he went all the way, taking down huge names, including like Clem and Mana. Yeah, a couple of Korean players like Impact. It was a super sick run. So he should
And
be
then
very
he
proud of that.
actually beat Clem, and then lost. That's gonna be he beat Clem to face Cure. The people he had to go through is insane to me. And I saw that bracket.
Yeah, it's a crazy bracket. I mean, super stacked. But Cure has been looking fantastic. I mean, I'm really excited to see him at Katowice also. And I'm not shocked to see him win here. Like you were saying, he's won a lot of online events against some of the top people. And he's an exciting player. A new Korean Terran to be excited about.
There's not enough of those these days.
No.
I feel like has been is you keep hearing about people in Korea being underrated, whatever. Kyo he is so good. He showed a little bit of that at Homestory Cup. He was a lot of the Koreans that were there said that Kyo had the best grasp of the new patch of anybody else in Korea at the time, and he hasn't shown any signs of slacking off. He gets dropped by Jin Air somehow, and immediately picked up like instantly, like the next day he signed. And it's like, I wonder if that's because he was offered more money and just didn't renew with Janair as opposed to Janair cut him. I don't know. But he's on a new team. I believe it's Dragon Phoenix Gaming, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I honestly, depending on how the bracket comes out for the main bracket run, I actually could easily see a Cure finals.
Did Cure dropped one map in his run through this bracket, and it was to Solar.
Yeah.
He was a 2-time previous champion as well, so he took
Yeah.
him down.
That's terrifying.
Cure is insane, okay?
And that's not like a 16 group single elimination tournament or anything. That's
not at all.
What, 5, 6 years? Jiminy Christmas. That's awesome. What a good show.
And some top level players didn't make it through via the groups and challenger brackets either. So it's quite a brutal format. It feels like a genuine championship. That's the experience we're going for, running it over a course of a few weeks, and of course being online, we can facilitate that without having to house people for 3 or 4 weeks.
Yes.
Just put them up at the Ritz. Come on.
Easy.
One day.
Well, cool. Very good results there from here. I mean, seeming very dominant. I'm looking forward to the next one. Do you know when it's happening?
The championship will run when our 2020 season 8 concludes. At the moment, it's probably still going to be January. That sort of works best. However, that may depend upon the January other events. Like I think Leipzig has been sort of scheduled sometime in there, so we may have to work around other events again. Not ideal. Like we had to alter the format for this championship somewhat to fit around other events, but yeah, it's a long time away. We've got probably about 600 StarCraft tournaments to come before then to
Yeah.
determine our rankings. So a long way to go.
Yeah.
And I would like to mention, and you did just number that again, but when you were talking about it, to talk about how they got to that point, 600 tournaments, literally 600 cups to get the points to play in the grand finals, in the championship. So it's not like you have a very small chance to qualify. Every tournament sponsored by OSC gives you OSC points. And if you play in those, if you get, depending on prize pool, if you get into the round of 16 for a $50 cup, you get OSC points. So there's really no reason not to participate if you're ever trying to go into this to qualify for the grand finals. So 600 cups means there's going to be basically 1.5 a day, a little bit more than that. So sign up, play.
For sure, that's what we're about. Ongoing rankings, helping players out in that regard. There's always StarCraft happening.
There really is. There really is. You guys always running some tournament or another, sponsoring tournaments. It's really awesome. I mean, just the sheer amount of events that are available right now. It's incredible. Looks like Cham.
Absolutely. What's the next event we're talking about then? Not to push us along too quickly,
Yeah.
but we got a lot. We got 2 more pages on our show list here we got to get through.
We do.
There's
All
so
right.
much to talk about.
We can take a quick look at the Hall of Fame from last year. There was some really impressive results again. Records continuing to be set 7 years into this OSC system. We have players racking up huge tournament numbers played, as well as tournaments won, etc. So some shout outs there to Marsman, who was the second only person to pass 200 competitive tournaments played in a year. We actually just the other day ran a tournament, the Marsman Open, celebrating that achievement.
Wow.
Yeah, still you can have a quick look through the guys in dark blue are last year's results. So there's a bunch of guys putting in the work, setting new records. And yeah, we had a lot of guys last year like Cham and Bly and Eric rack up a huge amount of tournament wins, which it's great that those guys are taking home a bit of money as well as benefiting from the ongoing rankings.
Cool,
Yeah.
man.
Love seeing it. All right, and
I can stay on that page for hours. Comparing those records is so fun.
there's so much information on it. There's so much information, and it's spread over years and years too. So you can compare it to different players in previous years. We talked about the OSC Elite Rewards Club.
Yeah, so this is something we brought in last year after we closed down our esports team, OSC Elite, which we'd run for a few years. It was great at the time working closely with a few select players. Like we had quite a lot of talent on our squad for a while there. Guys like Cham, Haas, Sol, Masa, a bunch of C guys, Demi, Igers, and even more guys competing in team leagues, etc. However, we decided to close that down and focus more on a more inclusive program. So we brought in the Rewards Club, open to anyone who wants to join. There is a small fee, $5 per month, but with that you get access to exclusive tournaments, members-only tournaments, some fun ones like King of the Hill, some flexible ones that you don't have to play on the day. You can play over the month. We do the artwork, the portraits of each member, which are really impressive artwork, I believe, and some other cool little giveaways and stuff as well.
That's so good. That's so cool, man.
Yeah, so we've currently got I think it's about 65 members signed up. Most of that is StarCraft players, but we also do Hearthstone players that we've just kicked off the Hearthstone League. We're wrapping up season 1. We've got about 1 month to go on that. So in our first first circuit of that. We've got some guys signing up as members already, which is pleasing, and running some tournaments for them. We'll probably get a few artwork done so we can put a name to the face sort of thing.
I love that. And those King of the Hills have been really exciting. It's been really fun to watch them.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime I get to see Bly in a best of one against somebody, it makes me very happy.
You know it's going to be a good time.
Mm-hmm.
His numbers are remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, last week we saw him. He took out, I think, 5 best of ones in last week alone, barely getting edged out at the end there by Poppy, I think. But I mean, if we look at the maps won, the earnings, Bly is just killing it right now.
Yeah.
He's
win
won
streak of
41 maps out of
11?
51.
41 maps out of 51. That's
The man himself.
that's a record.
3 times king.
It's
And that's
insane.
against like elite players as well. Like our membership, it's got a lot of high level StarCraft players, as you'd expect. You know, a lot of Koreans, top Europeans as well. So best of one, Bly is not the guy you want to face. But we run this tournament weekly. The push-up king Creighton casted last week, and hopefully that becomes a bit more of a regular thing too.
Oh, I don't know about the push-ups becoming a regular thing. I don't think my chest can take it. I'm a man now. But the casting, certainly, yeah. A great time to cast. It's as a caster, you're always looking for a good story to tell, and best of ones are the way to do it.
You just need to have a monitor laying on the floor so you can do push-ups while you cast.
That would be the next level. Big brain play. I'll have to look into that. Once I get my new apartment, we'll see.
Non-stop push-ups for like 6 hours while you're casting. You can do it. I believe in you.
Oh no!
An easy way to murder a StarCraft caster right there.
Tough Mudder has nothing on you.
Gross.
And we also are looking to get more Hearthstone members events up and running. We currently have 6 signed up members, so it's starting small at the moment, with just a $50 cup for them as well as bonuses. But looking to get a few more members in, and we'll bump that up to probably 120 as well to match the StarCraft version.
Nice.
And with the way Hearthstone works, with a lot of deck selection and card classes and all that as well, Toxavia has done a cool little social media updates on Twitter about how that bracket's been playing out, which is quite cool. Some nice little graphics there, whereas in StarCraft you might not be able to have that feature. So yeah, just follow our Twitter. There's always StarCraft as well as Hearthstone updates happening.
It's so cool that you guys are expanding into something else. It's great to see an organization that's like doing well enough on StarCraft to be able to pull in more games as well. At Hearthstone, always an exciting time, man. There's so much strategy, and I always love watching a bit of Hearthstone in my downtime.
Yeah, it's a good game
Cool
for
stuff.
sure. It's a fun one. All right. What's next on the list? Sorry, I can't scroll down on the page and look at the list of
Let's
things.
talk
at the
about
same
some new
time.
tournaments.
Oh yeah. All
So
right,
it's still
first
very
one.
pleasing to me that now in 2020, 10 years into the game's run, 8 years into OSC, we have new tournaments popping up all the time, new people wanting to run their own events, and yet again we see some new ones. Shyrshadi Open, we got the Passioncraft Sunday Showdown, the Indie Crew Weekly, Battle of the Americas, which was a fun one-off event we run previously. I've got the shirt on here for that one. We're bringing that back as a weekly format for NA and
That was
Latin
a very
America.
clean plug for your merch, by the way. I've got the shirt on just in case you.
Well, limited edition. They're no longer for sale, but there was a really fun event we run in 2018. As well as another new one is the Australian Open, which was what some Australian players were asking for, a home server tournament, but it's open to everyone as well. So yeah, perhaps we can have a quick look at the Shyrshadi Open. Tell us a bit about that.
So the Shyrshadi Open is a spiritual successor to the Proxy Tempest NA Open. I heard about 2 months beforehand that Proxy Tempest was going on hiatus due to, again, medical reasons for the primary admin, Lady Hazelis. And I wanted to make sure I could maintain a place for NA players to have a time slot that they could actually show up and play because, like Fear Dragon, but not nearly to the same degree, I love NA StarCraft. I love NA players. My favorite Terran player right now is Cuddlebear. He's American. My favorite Protoss right now is Estrella. He is American. I have like 4 different favorite Zerg players. One of them is Starkiller, and he's American. And so being able to have this tournament was really important to me. The original plan for this cup was to be a $50 first event, $25 second events, but an anonymous donor set me up with the first 4 cups of money to maintain that $50 prize pool. Giggle Bear by name decided he would contribute free graphics for the show to make sure that it could be something I didn't have to pay for because he wants to make sure the StarCraft keeps happening. And then very recently, Rushy SC has committed to help me maintain the prize pool for the foreseeable future to make sure we have $50 cups a week. And I cannot believe the amount of passion and support that I'm getting, not only from the players, but from the viewers. It's absolutely insane. My viewer count for these events, I would cast to maybe 20, tops of ever 30 Proxy Tempest in a Open, and I am regularly at a 60 plus viewers for the Shyrshadi Open. And people love the games. The players are showing up. The games last week, every single series I cast last Thursday was insane. It's also the highest check-in number I had. I had only 31 players signed up. The highest I've ever had was 36. That was for the first event because the bracket was available for 3 weeks before the first event actually started. So people had time to sign up for that. But I had actually have to look back at the number. I want to say it was 25 check-ins. Yeah, I had 25 check-ins for last week's cup, which is insane to me. We ran for 5 hours. And
Dang.
so
It's
I'm just really excited, really hyped for
it's
this.
your second best check-ins. You had in cup number 4. You had 28, which
I
is
had 28. Oh my goodness. I can't even keep up at this point.
He's got so many check-ins, he's lost count.
I have. You know what else I lost? The VOD for the 4th one because I forgot to highlight it. And I remembered it was expired by 1 day, and I'm like, no.
I hate it when that happens.
it's
I'm just
actually
happy to see-
quite
just
a
happy to see-
difficult time slot. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say it's quite a difficult time slot to run a tournament for viewership as well as players because it is NA time, so that's
Mhm.
good. You're hitting your audience, but it's very late EU, and it's weekday morning Asia, Oceania. So you're not
Yeah.
really going to get many of those participants or the EU viewership. So you're already hitting really impressive numbers, averaging almost 28 signups and 20 check-ins, which is up on the Proxy Tempest previous event, albeit a smaller sample size.
Yeah.
The percentage of check-ins is low 70s, which is a little bit low, something that could be worked on. But as you mentioned, that's probably largely attributed to the first event that was open so early. People are going to forget about
Yeah.
that. The ideal window of putting up a tournament bracket is sort of 3 to 4 days before. That seems to be the sweet spot. But yeah, these numbers are really impressive, and it's great to see the NA players and, as you mentioned, the NA community really rally behind this. And North America in the past has been the largest number of participants by country and region in OSC, particularly the United States and Latin America. There's a huge amount of players there, so it's really great to see another weekly for that player base.
Can we start the USA chants now? Or are we?
Ready.
USA.
I'm always ready.
We're pressed for time, but USA.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad that's going super well for you. That's going to be in what, 3 days?
Yes, today's Tuesday.
The next one.
So, well, it's technically 2. But yeah, the
2
next it's
days.
gonna be it's every Thursday.
Oh,
If you go to my Twitter, just look for Shyrshadi. I have a link posted to the Team Liquid post that lists all the brackets for the month, so you can go ahead and see the countdowns for those. And it just makes it a little bit easier to find everything in one place. Of course, it's also tl.net will show you the calendar events. My cups are there as well. And then if you just look at the sidebar when the cups are live, you can see my name listed.
It's also on the upcoming events on SC2 Online, updated daily.
Yes. That is actually a website I feel like doesn't get enough love. SC2 Online is SC2online.com is the OSC esports homepage. And because it's not OSC esports, a lot of people don't know that's the website. And I highly recommend it. It's actually a really good place to find upcoming events. It actually anything that gives OSC points, any tournament that is partnered with OSC will appear on this list.
Cool. Speaking of tournaments sponsored by OSC, Chickenman, you have a PG-13 rated tournament coming up that you've just introduced, I understand.
That's absolutely correct. I don't know why you're saying it's PG-13. I am
Got
Chickenman.
dirty words in the title, man.
A male chicken is referred to as a rooster or perhaps a cock, and so my tournament, as such, is called the Cock of the Walk tournament. I think it makes perfect sense.
Tell us more. What is this thing?
Well, it's going to be a weekly event. It's going to be also on Thursdays, but at a different time than the Shyrshadi Open, because I didn't want to compete with that. I was like, okay, I can't start when Katowice is going, and I got to make sure I'm not competing with the Shyrshadi Open. So it's going to be a little bit earlier in the day, and it's starting not this coming Thursday, but next week.
And it's really awesome to see a tournament that coincides with the Shyrshadi Open for the European players. I don't have available funding or the available time to run anything for Europe as well, which is why I haven't done it. And it's awesome to see a tournament that'll fill that slot.
While I am NA based, I work overnight shift, so I am asleep during the large portion of the day. So NA events don't really work for me all that well, but EU events, I got you guys covered.
Amazing. I love it.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah, all right. What do we have next on the docket? Oh, we got a Ball Guy Classic.
Speaking of new tournaments.
That's it, yeah. All right, let's
Because there's not enough yet, and I was like, we need more, right?
Yes.
Yes,
always more.
Agreed.
There's literally no such thing as too much StarCraft.
It's a big year. Well, I won't take too much time because we're already going, I think, way over our estimate. But we held the first Bald Guy Classic. I decided to call it the Bald Guy Classic because apparently there's no legal restriction on calling something a classic, no matter how new or unclassic it is. So I was just like, done. It was an all random tournament. Every player has to play random. You see that beautiful yellow colored bracket there. No surprises. Beastie Cutie making it into the finals. I was so happy with the signups. What was that? Sorry?
There was one surprise, in my personal opinion.
Right. So we're about to talk just very briefly about the surprise. But some amazing signups. I mean, you can see the list there. I thought it was all just going to be like random, Platinum League players, but some real players showed up for this thing. Crazy signups, and a ton of fun. I mean, playing all random is just, I don't know, making players have a complete mastery of the game. I feel like is a really strong way to see their power as a player, both strategically and mechanically. Really testing the understanding of the game holistically. So I'm really excited. The big upset, obviously, at the bottom of that semifinal bracket, Beastie Cutie played Scarlet, which we thought, okay, probably a pretty good matchup. Scarlet ended up getting Zerg both games, and Beastie Cutie bopped her.
Wow.
Once with Terran and once with Protoss. Really unexpected. I mean, game 2 came up. We're like, oh, Scarlet got Zerg again. Now she's got a chance to draw even. Out of it.
That is insane.
She was beaten so badly that she dropped out of IEM Katowice and stayed home.
It's true. That's what I heard.
She's like recovering now. So
then the in control question you have to ask is Scarlet washed up?
Is right, of course. So the good news, it isn't officially announced yet, but there will be a second one of these. The Liquipedia page is live. I've made the announcement or anything because it's all IEM Katowice all this week. But in a couple weeks, going to be Bald Guy Classic number 2 coming up soon. And then there's one other tournament I'm running, again, unofficially announced. But I'll keep that one under my hat for now. But now that I am full-time, I have got so much effort to devote to stupid StarCraft tournaments. and I couldn't be more excited to do it. So
Perfect.
I'm excited to do more random nonsense, and I'm sure we will see a lot of these players back for number 2.
Yeah, I like sort of fun little tweaks on tournaments like this. Bald Guy Classic 2, Scarlet's Revenge. Looking forward to seeing that one.
Scarlet's I gotta get a graphic up for that. That's gorgeous. Get her in like a pirate hat with a yeah.
I can see her doing like a Rocky montage, just training for this. Don't worry about I am coming back.
We gotta get the sweatbands from Shyrshadi so she can put them on. Live to win. All right. Enough of that. Let's go on. The OSC Super Series is I'm sorry, is that a typo on the page? A $25,000 circuit?
Indeed.
Holy what? Eddie, say more right now.
Well, what we do at OSC is obviously we have the ongoing world rankings, right? From every tournament, you get points, and that contributes towards the rankings database and leaderboard. What we wanted to try was bringing in individual tournament leaderboards and rankings. So we thought we'd try something, a small sample size with just 5 tournaments. So they're going to be part of this Super Series. They are the Masters Cups, one of the longest running franchises in esports. So we brought that one in. We brought the new Passion Craft Sunday Showdowns, an EU timed one. We brought in the Australian Open. We brought in the Battle of the Americas. And we brought in the Community Open, SC2 Online Community Open. And these are going to run weekly, all within about 24 hours over the weekend. And they're all going to have their own leaderboards. And the top players from that are going to join our OSC Elite Rewards Club members in mid-season playoffs, something else we thought we'd introduce so that players always have the championship in mind throughout the year rather than it being a mad rush at the end, which sometimes happens. So there's going to be 3 mid-season playoffs, and the players are playing for a guaranteed seeding in the championship bracket. Now, we talked earlier about how big the championship bracket was. It ran over 3 weeks. There was multiple stages. If you can guarantee yourself a seed deeper in the bracket, deeper in the money, it's going to be a big deal. So, yeah. These are trial tournaments as well, so we can also sub another one in if one's not performing too well, or just mix it up a bit after each mid-season playoff. With probably the goal of bringing in leaderboards for every single tournament next year if it goes well. So we're hoping to get these sort of top 6 players of each leaderboard up on SC2 Online ASAP. We do have the databases and spreadsheets up for those that we're tracking and trying to publish after each result on Twitter. But I hope to see them on SC2 Online soon. And yeah, all these little tournaments that up to big money, and it's just one small part of the league. But I think the mid-season playoffs are pretty big, as well as the leaderboards.
Yeah, dang. That's so cool, man.
Yeah, that is so much StarCraft.
I
And so
actually
much
can't.
potential.
I actually can't shut up, and I don't have words for this. And a really good example is how I just tried to talk over Chickenman. This I knew about some of these events, but I did not realize that this is all connected. I am actually there's no way on earth I can actually watch all this StarCraft, but I'm really excited to see the results.
I'm always reminded of, like they always say, if you were to watch all of YouTube, if you watched YouTube for a year, by the time you finished watching everything, you'd be like 80 years behind because of how much stuff is uploaded to YouTube. I feel like we're getting there with StarCraft now, where if you want to watch StarCraft 24 hours a day, you still wouldn't watch all of the StarCraft that is StarCrafting in the StarCraft world, because we're crafting so many stars that it's just, there's too much content, and it's delightful. And it's all thanks to guys like Eddie who are really pumping this out.
I watch every VOD on time and a half at least.
I heard the casters today during the thing when they put the plays on Benny Hill time just to make them go up to 2x speed.
Yeah, so that's exciting. So just check out SC2 Online for those tournaments, and looking forward to the mid-season playoffs. I think the first one's scheduled for April. No specific date locked in yet, but closer to will be. And we also introduced this year a new points bonus, a new points system. which is something we've sort of studied from other events and thought, let's bring it into, which is a bonus depending upon the size of players of a bracket. So sometimes there's a bit of variance, whereas a tournament might have 60 players in a bracket, and the next week perhaps there might only be 20 for whatever reason. And traditionally, you'd get the same OSC points regardless. Now we've brought in that depending upon the size of the prize pool, it's going to be top 4 or top 8 players get a bonus of 0.25 points times the total of checked-in players. So it's not a huge amount, but it's enough to add that extra little bit of variance and extra little bonus that's going to shape up the rankings a bit, as well as reward the person or people who place and win in bigger tournaments. It's a lot harder to do than a 20-player tournament compared to a 60-player tournament. So something we wanted to bring in and reward those guys with as well.
What an elegant solution. I really like that. That's so cool. Love seeing like new prize poolings and all sorts of ways to make sure that the tournaments are good for the players, no matter how big or small they are. I really like that. That's cool, man.
And that's something that's live and in effect across all open tournaments this year already. So that's in place.
That is
And we are seeing some really great numbers as well. We talked about the Shyrshadi Open. That's hitting good numbers. The Sunday Showdown is hitting really good numbers each week as well. There's a bunch of tournaments that are performing really well, and that's reflected in signups. So these guys are getting the bonuses for the number of players involved as well.
Awesome.
That's really great. And I think that's another thing leads back to the first thing we were talking about, which is that 3 more years of StarCraft. People see that and they say, all right, well, it's worth investing my time into the game. Yeah, I'm going to start signing up for more tournaments. And I hope that only keeps growing, especially as we get through 2020. And people find out about things like this where you can play in a ton of OSC Cups. You get bonus points, and hey, if you're good at the video game, be getting into the championship at the end of the year.
Nice.
Very cool.
Well, should we take a quick look then at the OSC rankings? See how things are going here. We're about 6 weeks into the season, I think. And I mean, who among us has the best beat on this? To sort of just quickly go over, I mean, any standouts or anything.
Cham, rank 1. He's always a regular top of the rankings, so no surprise that he's not. I was talking to him earlier today, and he said he's going to try OSC in 2020 even harder than previous years. So just watch out for him in every single tournament. He holds the record first and second place for most tournaments won in a season. So he's definitely a regular.
Series win percentage. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Well, if you win that many,
hard to beat.
it's kind of funny to look at the series win percentage. Obviously, the people with the highest percentage are the people that have won the most tournaments of the ones they've played.
That's true.
But you can also rank highly by total tournaments you play in by accumulating points. So we see guys like Justice Simon really joining every single tournament they can. And Marsman, they do win tournaments as well, but they're grinders. They accumulate points. A new player, fairly new player that I'm impressed with, who's getting results and playing a lot, is Chance, a Korean Protoss.
He is really good PvZ, guys.
Did he almost qualify for GSL last season, or did 64?
I think he almost qualified, right? He's been the new up and coming Korean for a while now.
Yeah, I think I remember casting one of his games in the semifinal, because I only casted the final matches to see who would qualify, and I'm almost positive I saw him face up against somebody and put up like a really good fight. So super cool to see him in there.
These ranking updates tend to be done once or twice a week, so there's always a bunch updated at once. So I think we're about maybe 8 to 10 events behind already. We run that many, it's easy to fall behind. So
yeah,
check in every few days.
It's already been 6 hours, so there's about 6 events that finished in that time.
Yeah. So this rankings will continue to evolve over the year daily. So we can check on that each show and sc2online.com.
Yeah, again, a really good website just to keep an eye on all of these tournaments that are going on.
Lucky last, we might just touch on the Hearthstone rankings. We run 3 weekly tournaments for this game in our first year, as well as now recently an additional members-only tournament as well. And we've already passed 100 tournaments in Hearthstone, so in traditional OSC style, just pumping out the numbers.
Damn.
Look at those series win rates. Come on, Alan. You got to get better at this, man. Step up your game.
Well, 67 tournaments played, though. That's a lot.
There's
That's
someone on
wild.
here that has 79.
Damn.
Overload 2109.
Man,
Cuban.
that just speaks. I mean, that speaks to how seriously OSC is investing in this stuff, and already putting on all those tournaments. Also,
Yeah.
I had no idea Cuba had such a burgeoning scene in Hearthstone. Look at all
Yeah.
those results.
Me neither. Wow. Damn.
But seriously, I mean, a huge number of results, and these cups seem to be just going from strength to strength.
Yeah,
as
it's
the
really
weeks go
great
on.
to see those communities rally around these events. I think particularly factors that might influence that is that it's run on the NA server. It's sort of NA SEA time, so we'll see like Philippines, Australia, Cuba, Latin American nations feature highly in the rankings.
Cuts down
Also,
on your lag as well for the players who are playing from other places.
yeah, and I think with Hearthstone, you buy decks for certain servers, so it might not be as advantageous. If you're coming from Europe, you won't have your same deck.
That's true,
And
too.
also, I think it might be fair to say that the currency conversion might be better for these guys when they actually win as well.
I like that you took my stupid joke and made it an actual observation.
And one shout out would be to our brand ambassador, Vivid, who's actually a Grandmaster StarCraft player, sort of challenger level, and does streaming and all this stuff as well. He's actually winning Hearthstone events, so he's like an ultimate gamer,
Yeah, dang.
performing really well in both rankings.
That's really cool. I had no idea Vivid played Hearthstone and was really good at
neither.
it.
How neat.
Yeah, he actually took down King of the House Toxic, aka Fast, aka Squall, man of many names, who's like the top North American ranked player. You can see he's really shot up to number 2nd in the rankings. He took him out in the members only tournament, so he can match up with the top guys.
Damn.
Alan has the most wins, but by actual wins, Fast actually has the highest win rate because he's only played in 49, but he's won 13 of them. It's only 2 less than the top guy for playing in 18 less cups.
Yeah, not bad. And then we got, it looks like, sorry, not to cut our Hearthstone discussion too short, but I am yawning like heck over here. It's almost midnight, and I got to be up in about 3 hours to cast some more StarCraft. Let's talk about, it looks like we got one more thing on the agenda here, this $1,000 raffle. Got a huge raffle drawing. Eddie, what's that all about?
Yeah, so we traditionally do participation prizes and giveaways and such. And what we did in 2019 for StarCraft 2 and Hearthstone was do a raffle. So you can buy in for $10. There's 1,000 in prizes, as you can see on screen.
Sure.
We split that down to, I think, 8th place, as well as some other giveaways and bonuses. And what you do is you play in StarCraft tournaments, you earn more tickets. You win tournaments, you earn more tickets. And the same applies to Hearthstone, which is season 1 is still currently ongoing. Hence, we haven't done the draw. But once that's done, we'll do the draw probably live on perhaps the next edition of this show or the one after. And just buy in, you'll get tickets. Play in tournaments, you'll get tickets, and you might win some nice cash.
Dang. I'm particularly a big fan of 8th prize there. I feel like if I won like anything 4th through 5th, I just want the tournament named after me.
Yeah, it's a cool reward. Like we just did the Marsman Open, would do a similar thing, like a $50 tournament OSC partner. So you'd be getting some good players turn out for OSC points and cash in your name.
Very nice. Oh, cool.
Very
Anything
cool.
else? What else have
There
we
you go.
got?
That's about it. Unless there's any quick chat questions, we've covered everything. It's been a long show.
Been here a while.
Lots to
Sorry,
talk about.
Creighton. You gotta go
come
to
on,
sleep.
guys. I was promised like 60, 70 minutes max. We're here sitting on 2 hours.
That was just for the IM segment.
Well played.
I gotta read the fine print of these contracts a little bit better. Dang. Well, it's been a pleasure to be on the show. Eddie, thanks so much for inviting me, man. It's good to talk about StarCraft and everything that OSC is up to. It's always nice because I know I get tunnel vision a lot of times doing the 6 events I'm doing a week, and sometimes lose track of just all the work that folks like OSC are putting into the scene. So thanks so much for having me on, man, and good to chat with y'all.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me as well, Eddie. Appreciate it. It's been a good time chatting with you guys. I hope we can do it again.
For sure, and hopefully all the new tournaments go really well as they have done so far. So, well done, guys.
Excellent. Well, anything else before we head out, or is that going to be a wrap on this edition?
That's about a wrap. What we got IEM in 4 hours and OSC happening every day. So check out SC2 online for that.
I was going to say, sign up for OSC. There's something every day, sometimes more than once a day.
It's true.
Excellent. Well, gentlemen, thank you all so much. And I'm sure we'll talk again soon. Have a good night, guys.
See you guys. Thanks.